everyone, it's JT. Happy Thursday. Today, I am so excited. Can you tell? And I drink decaf, just you know. I am excited because we are doing our first live call-in show. That is right. Our very first one. So excited to be with you, streaming on all sorts of platforms today. I have a couple of special guests who agreed to be on the show. What we did yesterday is we posted to everybody, and if you had a question, you filled out a form, and that's how you were able to be on the show. There's going to be more about that. If you like what you hear and see today, there's going to be lots of opportunities for you guys to come on live and come to my career couch and talk about the things that are going on in your world so that we can grow your career. As you know, JT Talks Jobs. This is all about helping 1 million people grow their careers in 2020. We know that if we can empower 1 million people to take control of their careers, find the success and the satisfaction they want and deserve, craft a career that works for them, everyone's going to be happier. We're going to empower a workforce to partner with employers and really get back to a place where everyone wins. And so that's what this show is all about. A couple of things you need to know before we get started. If you want to get instant notifications, you need to follow me. So one place you can do that is follow me here on LinkedIn. For example, you can hit the follow button. Anytime we go live on LinkedIn, you'll get an instant notification. Same thing happens over on the Work It Daily YouTube channel. So if you're following us on YouTube, shout out to all of you as well. Make sure you hit the little button. That way you'll get instant notifications when we go live and you can join the conversation. And of course, if you can't attend live, but you want to stay in the know, we've got our very own hashtag. It's JT Talks Jobs. All you have to do is follow the hashtag and you'll be able to go back and find all of the recordings plus all the additional content that we're putting out there to, again, help 1 million people grow their careers in 2020. So with no more further ado, it's time to get down to the business of answering your questions. And I just want to say thank you in advance. We have 2 brave souls who reached out to us and said, sure, JT, we'll come on the show our first time ever. What could go wrong, right? Our whole team is laughing because obviously the first time you do anything, there will be technical difficulties. But, you know, knock on wood, so far, so good. So we are going to start with our first caller, which I'm going to ask Lindsay, my production partner. Lindsay, who are we talking to first? We are talking to Mark. Awesome. Mark, can you hear me? Welcome to the JT Talks Job Show.
Yep, I can hear you just fine, JT. Thanks very much for having me on and answering my question. One of the things that I learned was that the resume, you really should only have the last 15 years. People don't care about more than the last 15 years. But I just wonder what your opinion is that on LinkedIn, when you list a bunch of jobs, and people see decades of experience, is that contributing to ageism, or what's your take on the LinkedIn aspect?
Yeah, that's a super question, Mark. So first thing you need to know is that your resume and LinkedIn profile should be identical when it comes to your work history. And a lot of people don't know this. And the reason for that is that recruiters don't want to see a bait and switch, and they don't want to be confused. So think about it. Let's say a recruiter stumbles across your profile on LinkedIn and they see all this excessive experience, right, beyond 20 years. Then they ask for your resume and suddenly the resume is only showing 15. Why? What's the problem there? Or let's flip it around. You apply, a recruiter sees your resume, decides to go check out your LinkedIn profile, because a lot of times they're going to take your LinkedIn profile and share that link with the hiring manager. It's kind of easier to pass along. They go to the LinkedIn profile and now there's all this additional experience. Why? So you just don't want any inconsistency there. At Work It Daily, what we have you do is focus on the resume first. And as you pointed out, you don't go back more than 15 years. And a couple of rules of thumb, and I've talked about it here before. If you were with a company less than 3 years, that's essentially a shorter term gig. You're going to have about 3 bullet points on there. 5 years, 5 bullet points. Anything over 5 years, about 7 bullet points. You're not going to put everything that you ever did for that employer. What you're going to focus on is to simplify the bullet points down to accomplishments. What did you measurably get done? What were the outcomes? Because that's what a recruiter has to evaluate you on in order to present you to the employer. So step 1, go over to the resume, go back 15 years and really limit the number of bullet points and focus them on quantifiable accomplishments. Step 2, take that exact content and go over and pop it into LinkedIn so that you've got that consistency. And just 2 other tips I want to mention. On LinkedIn, I've found that it really helps if you put a space between each bullet point. That way the content isn't crowded and doesn't feel all kind of pushed together. Makes it easier for the recruiter to read your work history. And over on the resume and LinkedIn, really, sometimes you will go past 15 years. There are exceptions to every rule. People will say to me, JT, but I worked at a really high profile company. I got my start at a company and it was, 18, 20 year mark. Do I list it? Absolutely. if there's earlier work and it's relevant in some way, it might not have been the work itself, but it could have been a very high profile company that everyone would recognize. And that's when you name drop. That's when you keep that on there. So again, folks, remember there's exceptions to every rule, but ideally you're sticking to 15 years and you're quantifying your accomplishments in your bullet points and you're having them exactly the same on LinkedIn and your resume. Did that help, Mark?
Yep. Thanks so much, JT. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Good luck in your search. Okay, we're moving on. Well, okay, one down. We did it. This is pretty good, folks. What are you thinking? Yes, yes. Give it a little thumbs up if you like it. Okay, so our next caller is Mina. And I believe that Mina is hailing all the way from Ireland. Is that correct? I think so. So wonderful. Top of the day to you. Do they even say that in Ireland? Mina, you'll need to tell me that. But I feel like I want to say that. So Mina, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thanks very much, GT, for the opportunity. Yeah. I don't know if you say it here. I'm actually new in Ireland. It's almost a year and a half now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I would say my question is that I have two companies on my top list, and I had before an interview with them. It went well, but I wasn't chosen. So my question is how to be in effective communication with them and networking, but not that pushy. So when something comes in future, I can be the best candidate again.
Absolutely. Great question. So first of all, forgive me, I got a bit of a tickle here, Mina. I love the fact that you understand that this is a relationship building process and a long-term game. So kudos for you for that, because there's a lot of people out there that, they get the chance to interview with their dream employer, they don't get the job, and they get bitter. They think, well, okay, well, I'll never work with them. No, they said no, not today. They didn't say no, not ever. And the fact that you understand that is fantastic. So thank you for that. Secondly, can I just say that I love that you have a bucket list? Exactly. Dial in on who you want to work for. That's so key because you can't target your networking efforts and really build relationships if you're spraying and praying, which that simply means I'm just applying anywhere and I'm not really trying to think about the relationship. No company feels special. No employer feels special if you're just applying anywhere. So Mina, the fact that you've said, no, these are the employers that matter to me. I feel a connection to them. I'm going to focus on developing a relationship with them. That's what I mean, folks. When I talk about being a business partner instead of an employee, that's what Mina is expressing here. So when you're thinking like an employee, you work for an employer, you take orders, there's no partnership. When you work for an employer, it's like, you feel down here. But when you work with an employer, when you partner, that's when you're saying, I'm choosing you as much as you're choosing me. And the way you begin that process is by doing what Mina's doing, which is saying, these are the companies that matter to me and I want to stay in touch with them. Okay. So thank you for letting me share that, Mina. But now let's talk about your question. So you go through this process. Clearly you met some people along the way, right? So you probably had an initial phone screen, and this is usually with a recruiter or a hiring manager. This is a technical buyer. So this was somebody that had to assess you and make sure that you met basic criteria in order to be considered for the job. So these are gatekeepers, folks. And a lot of us don't make it past the gatekeeper because at that point, we don't have the criteria they were looking for. Doesn't mean we couldn't have done the job. And I think a lot of times we all feel that way. But their job, their specific job, how they get evaluated on their performance is around finding people that are an exact match. So if you weren't an exact match that day, they can't push you through. So if this is where you get stopped in the process, so Mina, if this is where you fell short, that's pretty early. My advice to you is to start to really explore how to network and connect with other people in the organization, because you only have one person to talk to. And this is the gatekeeper. So all they're ever going to evaluate you on is, okay, do you meet the criteria for the job or not? Now, you'll stay in touch with this person, but as you pointed out, you're not going to sit there and email them every single week. What I would do is just say once a month, I would follow up with that person and say, thank you for the opportunity to phone screen with you. Would it be okay to stay proactive? Can I touch base with you by email once a month and see if there's any new opportunities that might fit my criteria? Would you be okay with that? No recruiter's going to say no to that. Once a month is going to be fine. If they do, they might say, actually, Mina, don't worry about it. We'll be in touch. We've got you in the database, in which case you should follow their instructions. But most I find say, no, that's okay. Touch base with me once a month. That's fine. And that's what you'll do. Then you'll start to network. You want to meet people who are the same level as you. So you want to reach out and connect to people online there. You want to find department heads. You want to find people who just got their jobs there. Anyone that you can find a connection to that you share some sort of commonality with, whether you went to the same school, you volunteer at the same place, you worked at the same previous employer, you have the same type of skill set, you got certified in the same technology. Folks, study people's profiles, find a point of commonality, and then start to connect with these people. Reach out and ask them to connect on LinkedIn and see if you can't have a simple dialogue with them. Mina, I would rather see you start to cast that net. It's not a wide net, but it's a focused net so that you can meet more people in that organization. That way, when the next time there's a job that's a match, here will be your play. First of all, you'll apply to the job. Secondly, you'll write a great disruptive cover letter because by now you'll have essentially informational interviewed with a bunch of people that work there and be able to tell a very compelling story about why you feel connected to the company, why you feel part of their tribe, why you believe in the mission, okay? Then you're going to send that to the recruiter that you met, the technical buyer, and say, I saw this position. I have to tell you that since we last talked, I've actually connected with 4, 5, 7 people at your company. You could even name these individuals and say, as a result, they were really able to help me figure out even more why I'm passionate about the company. And I want to share that story with you, and closes the story about why I feel part of your tribe. And that's going to be the cover letter. So now what you've done to that technical buyer is say, okay, yes, I have skills, but I've also met 7 people in the organization, and I have a real commitment to this company. I've invested in writing this essential story about why I feel connected. Now the recruiter is getting excited about you and saying, okay, maybe Mina doesn't have everything, but Mina has hustled. Mina has invested his own time and energy into getting to know people here and really validating why he wants to be a part of this company. That's something. That's something I can go to as a recruiter. I can go to a hiring manager and say, I got to tell you about this guy. We screened him before and he wasn't quite a fit, but he's got some skills. Well, he has since met 7 people in the org. He's written this amazing cover letter, and you might even get the recruiter to reach out to a few of those people. And then of course you're going to go back to the 7 and say, hey, just a quick heads up. I want to thank you again for taking the time to converse with me. A job in the XYZ department just came up. I just applied for it. I just reached out to the recruiter, and I want to thank you because if you hadn't spent time talking to me or messaging me, I wouldn't have been able to craft the letter of why I feel so connected to the company. Just wanted to share the story with you. And you're going to attach your cover letter to all of them. Because what will happen is some of them are going to read it and go, oh, this is really good. I'm going to forward, I know the hiring manager, I'm going to forward this letter over to the hiring manager along with Mina's LinkedIn profile. Not all of them will, but the more people you meet, the chances that they do increase. Now, all of a sudden, I'm a hiring manager. I'm getting hundreds of applications because today, folks, that's what happens. Technology has made it possible for everyone to apply. So I'm getting hundreds of applications. I've told a recruiter to find me the top people. Recruiter comes in and says, hey, check out Mina. And in my inbox pops another person telling me to check out Mina. You think I'm going to check out Mina? I'm going to check out Mina, right? This is how you build upon an initial phone screen. This is how you take a relationship to the next level with an employer. And some people will push back and say, I don't want to go through all that trouble. I know Mina won't, I can already tell. But some people will say, oh, JT, that seems like a lot of work. Well, you know what? You want to partner with this business. You want to be paid thousands of dollars a year. You want benefits. You want perks. You want respect. You know how you get that? By showing that you have skin in the game and that you want to partner with them. That does not look desperate. That does not look over the top. That makes you stand out. And candidly, you get the interview, you crush the interview, you get to the end, and all of a sudden they want you. And now you sit in the driver's seat. Because once they decide they want you, do you think they want their second choice? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They want you. Now, all of a sudden, all that homework you did, all that effort you put in, that's when it pays off. That's when you negotiate a higher salary. That's when you negotiate better benefits. That's when you start the job and they're so gosh darn excited to have you that you're crushing it and you're getting promoted within a year. Folks, the beginning of the relationship with an employer is everything. This is why employers interview you over and over again. This is a big, expensive decision for them. They have to pay 130 to 140% of your salary to hire you, right? It's not just your salary. They have to pay additional taxes, benefits, overhead cost. So of course, you're going to need to deliver and you're going to need to show, hey, I'm in it for the long haul. And so this is one of the ways to do it. I've seen this work over and over again. We've coached thousands of people inside Work It Daily on this process. It totally works and it's a game changer. And the best part is once you learn how to do it, once you do it once and you get through and you see the success, you'll never job search the same way. You'll stop worrying about job boards. You will never job search the same way because you will now know the effective way to look for work. Okay. All right. Mina, thank you for that question. It's probably way more of an answer than you wanted, but you got me fired up today, which is awesome. Okay. So listen, we're also going to take some questions from all of you typing in there. And our first one today is from Smriti. I hope I'm saying that right. Shout out Smriti. It says, how to network to grow connections in your career field and industry. Okay. So I take a three-pronged approach. If you were in my class inside Work It Daily, you would see a Venn diagram. I love Venn diagrams. And the Venn diagram would have three circles that intersect. And so everyone should think about this. If you got a piece of paper handy, everybody create three circles right now. So circle number one is your geographic location. Where do you want to work? This matters because the physical proximity, how far are you willing to commute? Are you willing to commute up to 2 hours or only 10 minutes? What is it? You have to network in your geography because there are businesses here. And while not everybody has the same skill set as you, they may work at a company that does. So geography is key. Second circle, your industry. You need to find all the people that work in your industry. They don't have to be in your geographic location, but the truth is if they're in your industry, they might know someone who knows someone who knows someone who is. And then there's your actual skill set. What's your specialty? How do you deliver value on the job? You want to know as many people as you can in that group, because again, while they may not be in your industry, they might know people who are in your location. Okay. The perfect center, if you think about where those three circles intersect, are a small subset of people who are in your industry, in your geographic location, and have your skill set. It's very important we see that visual. Because I can't believe how many people say, I can't network. There's not enough people. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know how to connect because they're all trying to only find people in the very small sliver where all three of those things intersect. That is not how networking works. Not at all. Networking is done very intentionally by focusing on those three areas. So when you are networking, first of all, you should be choosing events, going to networking events where you know that it's going to knock out one of those three things. So if I'm going to, let's say, a local chamber event in my area, business chamber of commerce, or a tech meetup or something like that in my area, I right out of the gate know that that's going to check the box of my geographic networking needs, okay? Once I get there, I'm going to do a little inquiry. So I'm going to ask and say, how would I find the people in my industry? And there's usually somebody who's, set the event up, or you've always got the super connector in the group that seems to know everybody. That's the person you're going to come up to and say, really excited to be at the event, was hoping to meet more people in this industry, or maybe this skill set. Okay. Either way, say, do you know anybody that's in healthcare that's here today? Do you know anybody that's in digital marketing? Right? Whatever it is, you're going to try to get 2 out of your 3 in the Venn diagram, which is going to improve the chances that you're going to fill more people in this and work from there. If you do this consistently, both at events and online, this is how you build your network. Now, online is super fun, super, super fun. So there's a tool, and I'm going to have the team chat it to you. It's called recruitin.net, recruitin.net. You wouldn't know about this if you weren't a recruiter. So I'm going to let you in on a little recruiter insider secret. Okay. Us recruiters use this amazing free site to do searches on LinkedIn without getting penalized. So LinkedIn limits the amount of searches you can do on the platform, and you don't want to run out on that. So you want to use a site like recruitin.net, because recruitin.net actually combs through all the Google searches, Google profiles, and creates a list of LinkedIn profiles that meet your criteria. So you can put together a list that says, who is everybody in Boston, right? We're in the Boston area, who is in career coaching and also is in healthcare. So I could put that in there, and people who have that in their profile, I could start to find them, and I can look through that search, and then I can study their profile. And if I find something that's similar, I can reach out and customize a connection request and ask them to connect on LinkedIn and start the networking with them that way. So I have to say, I mean, LinkedIn's only been around for a decade. I think you all know to what degree I am a huge fan of LinkedIn. I'm eternally grateful for them for starting this platform. I was lucky to be an early adopter, because as a career coach and somebody who's been in HR and for recruiting for so many years, this thing is amazing and it's free. And so it's funny when I hear people get frustrated with it and say, oh, people aren't responding to me. I'm trying to network on LinkedIn and it's not working. Okay, a couple of things here. LinkedIn is no longer a social network. It's a social marketplace. When you have almost 700 million users, and that's where they are, they've probably passed that by now. It was like 660 million in the fall. So I bet they're over that. When you have 700 million users, that's 700 million profile pages. Okay. So people are getting inundated with requests to connect. Not everybody's going to connect with you anymore. A lot of people have become LinkedIn lazy as a result. So they accept the connection request, but they don't engage. You just have to know that's a reality. That's a social marketplace reality. When a social network is small, so for example, when I first got on LinkedIn and it was so small and a lot of people in my group didn't even know what it was, I could get almost everybody to connect with me, have a conversation with me because we were a small group and it was super novel. Today, no. If I can get 1 out of 5 people to respond to me, that's awesome. That's your new expectation. So folks, all of you that are networking on LinkedIn, please understand that it is a numbers game. You have to do your homework. You have to target your network, which I just explained how to do. You have to customize your connection requests. You have to be the one to follow up with them. And even then you have to understand that if you get 1 out of 5 to respond to you, you've done a good job. Okay. So manage your expectations, but do it. Work it daily. That's the name of the business for a reason. That is literally step 4 in the methodology that I teach in my book. Work it daily. So you have to. And I'll tell you, when you start doing this on a regular basis, 5 minutes a day, you'll get, in the beginning, it might take you a little bit longer. I get it because you have to research a profile, figure out what you want to say, but pretty soon you're going to know what 300 characters you want to use in the intro. You're going to know how to reach out. And the more you do it, the more you'll realize what gets you a response. And I think that's the most important thing. You might go 0 for 5 in the beginning. And you might, if you did 5 a day for 5 days a week, 25, but the next week you might get a hit. Take a look at what you said to that person. Okay, tweak it, do it again. And over time, you're going to improve your ratio, your connection ratio. And then, of course, you have to do something with it. So that's my last piece of advice. Please make sure that if somebody connects with you and you were the one that asked them, reach out, follow up, understand they might not respond, but that's your responsibility because you did the connecting. Okay? Awesome. All right. I hope that helped. Great question, by the way. Question this morning from Batish. Hey, Batish. I am into technical support profiles since the last 6 years. Okay, so you're a technical support person. Have worked with brands and startups. What should the next steps be for my career progression? Oh, okay, I love career progression. So, I said we're all about helping 1 million people grow their careers in 2020. The reason for that is most of us work in our jobs day in, day out, and we don't think anything about our careers, how to actually leverage our careers. Careers require strategy. They require planning. Here's an interesting thought. Did any of us learn how to do that in school? Heck no. Was there specific coursework on how to build a career that met your needs, that helped you be satisfied and successful, your unique needs? Heck no. So it's amazing to me that we all think we're supposed to just know how to do this. It's no wonder 70% of the population is dissatisfied with their careers because they don't feel like they've followed any sort of blueprint in order to get where they need to be. Okay. So I love that Batish is asking this question because this is what you have to be thinking about strategically. You always have to be thinking about how you're growing your career. Your career must always grow or it is dying. Please make sure that you understand that. And I credit my father. I know he's looking down on me right now, who said to me, if you're not growing, you're dying. He said, it doesn't matter how old you are. You cannot plateau. You must always grow. And it's funny, many years later, Carol Dweck has this incredible work on the growth mindset. If you guys don't know what that is, check her out. She's incredible. And she talks about fixed versus growth mindset. A lot of the people I run into that are having career problems, it's because they're stuck in fixed mindset in their career. You always have to have growth mindset in your career. So I love that Batish has that. Now, what you have to do is connect the dots, Batish. You have to think about what is a problem bigger than me that I'm focused on solving. This is really important that you all understand this. Basic business concept, okay? You're a business of one. Everyone here, you are not employees. There are no employees on this show today. You're a business of one who want to partner with employers, okay? So businesses do one of 2 things. You will not stay in business unless you do one of these 2 things. You either solve a problem and alleviate a pain, or you elevate pleasure. It's one of those 2 things. People are not going to pay you money. Businesses, individuals will not pay money unless they're saving them a pain, a problem, solving something, saving them money, making them money, doing something, or you're making them feel better. It's just, it has to be. That's it. That's how it works, okay? So for somebody like you who's now had 6 years of technical experience, Batish, You have to step back and say, how do I take these skills and what problem do I want to solve in the technical space that's bigger than me? What's going on in our industry? What's going on in my realm that's a bigger problem to tackle that really lights my fire? It's the thing that I want to invest my skills, my time, my energy in getting better at, in solving, in moving the needle on. This becomes the mission statement for your business of one. This becomes the foundation of your work, the principles. And that's when you can start to go out and have conversations with employers and they say, why do you want a new job? And you say, because this is the problem I'm passionate about solving. These are the skills that I want to build to do that. And you are the place where I can do that. That is called a value proposition. And every good business of one has a value proposition. They're able to very clearly articulate why they want to partner. Because, the employer knows it's not just the paycheck. It's not just for the money. They need to hear that you're really going to stick it out in good times and bad because you have skin in the game. There's something bigger here. So when you can articulate your value prop and say, look, this is the problem that I am passionate about solving, and I want more and more skills and abilities, and I want to create more and more value to be able to do that. So find that, Batish. Find the 10 or 20 companies that are working on that problem or might have that problem and start to network the heck out of it in order to connect with people there and share that story. Tell them your mission statement for your business of one. Show them that there is an agenda, there is a plan beyond getting a paycheck, and that's when you'll start to see the results. Okay? Awesome. And you'll also just be a lot more fulfilled, for the record. Because when you intersect, folks, people ask me this all the time. I'm about career satisfaction. Success is not success if you're not satisfied. And true career satisfaction comes from an intersection. And that intersection is the skills that you love to use on a daily basis. That's how you like to create value, intersected with a problem you care about. When you put those two things together, it's magic. Each and every time, it's magic. And that's what you need to figure out. All right, great question, Batish. Okay, I'm so excited. We have a new caller. So new caller Tawana is calling. Tawana, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So what's your question, my friend?
Well, my question is, I took a job last year on kind of an experimental basis, and it didn't work out for me or for them. Mm-hmm. And the relationship ended after about 6 months. I have about 20 plus years of experience in my field, and I'm wondering if I should keep that job on my resume and my LinkedIn profile.
Okay, and quick question. This job was outside your norm of your 20 years experience, correct?
It was within it, but it was only it only represented a small bit of that experience.
Okay, and do you want, if you could, would you want to stay in this, or was this an opportunity for you to figure out it's not what you want?
It was an opportunity to figure out if it was something I wanted to do on a more on a regular day-to-day basis.
Okay. And would you say you do want to do it? So we want to find another job similar to it or not?
It could be a part of the next job, but I wouldn't want it to be the entire next job.
Got it. Okay. That totally makes sense. Part of the next job, not entire. My other question is, and it's all confidential here. Did the culture, do you think that this is the type of job that you could do someplace else if it was a different setup? Or have you really come to the realization that it's just not a job that should be done full time?
No, in a different setup, in a different culture, yes.
Yep.
I could do it full time.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So love this question. First of all, can I just commend you? Shout out, double thumbs up, 20 years, and you were willing to step out and try something different. That, my friend, is awesome. And you should be so incredibly proud of that. That is that growth mindset I'm talking about. And that's what we would work with you on Work It Daily. You need to elevate that. That is not something, you did not fail in any way, shape, or form. In any way. You stepped out of your comfort zone, tried something new. So did this employer. You both tried it for 6 months. Didn't pan out. Right? There's no bad employers or bad employees. Just sometimes there's not the right fit. And that's why I asked you that follow-up question around, do you think you could see yourself doing it someplace else? No disrespect to where you were. I'm sure they're a great company, but they made choices about how they set up the business and it just might not sync with you. This is what I mean about business partner. Folks, I love this because I can hear in his voice, no hard feelings, right? It's business. Sometimes things don't work out. when they don't work out, when we have expectations going in and they don't work out, it's a very common reaction as human beings to wanting to go into blame mode because we don't want to think that we failed. And so we want to find a reason or excuse to blame. No one failed here. No one failed here. And the sooner you realize that and internalize that and talk about it in that way, the sooner all of us in HR are going to go, okay, yeah, this is somebody who's learning and growing. This is somebody who gets it. So my advice to you is I'm hearing that this is still interesting to you. And I don't know that we want to bury this and go back. So you leave this on your resume. 6 months, you leave it on there. Absolutely. You bullet point out what you got done. You highlight the stuff that you specifically want to do more of. Then the talk track becomes, okay, what are the top 10? Now that you've been in the space for 6 months, because you have 6 months of experience, what are the top 10 companies doing this? What are the 10 companies that you know are a bit more established, maybe have a different approach? Whatever you learned in that 6 months that made you figure out it wasn't a fit there, but it's still kind of interesting. Those are the conversations you need to have. And so I would put it on your resume. Absolutely. I would then put it on your LinkedIn profile. Absolutely. I would put together a story, an explanation. We call it a disruptive cover letter, but I would put together the story of why this was a powerful learning experience for you, because that's what it was. It wasn't bad. It was powerful in that it really taught you that these are the things that I love about this skill set and this new direction that I went in. And these are the things that I learned need to be in place for me to be really successful at it, right? That's the story. Then I want you to go out and I want you to start networking with people at that 10. And what you're going to say to them is, we haven't met. I came across your profile when I was researching the company. Your company is one of the top, in my opinion, one of the top 10 companies doing this kind of work. Can we connect? So now you've essentially created a top 10 list and you're letting them know they're on it. This is going to dramatically increase the odds that somebody responds to you. And you're going to reach to a lot of people. If you were on the call earlier, I talked about that networking strategy because odds are not everyone's going to connect with you, but you will get some to connect with you. And when they do, you're going to follow up and say, thank you so much. I've been in the industry for all of 6 months, or I've been in this skill set all of 6 months, whatever it was. And I have this amazing story and connection to it. I learned a ton. And now I'm researching the top 10 companies in the space and you're it. And I'd really love to get your take on what you think it requires to be successful in this, right? So you want to say, what's your one tip? Don't leave it too open-ended for them or they won't respond. Just say, what's your one tip? What's your one piece of advice? Or what's the one thing that makes your company so good at this, right? Ask for the one thing. That's going to make it easier for somebody to respond and give you an answer, and you're going to get information. And you're going to do this again and again and again. And eventually there are going to be jobs and you're going to apply. And you're going to be able to tell this great story in the cover letter about the powerful experience. They're going to see the 6 months and a recruiter is going to call you, especially if the recruiter looks you up on LinkedIn and sees that you've managed to connect with 6 or 7 people at their company. Even if you didn't talk to those people, if they connect with you on LinkedIn, it shows up to the recruiter. The recruiter is actually able to see that you are connected to those people, which is now going to increase the chances they're going to look at you and give you a phone call. And when that day comes, you are going to be ready. And when they say, why did you leave your last job? First thing you're going to say to them, that is an awesome question. I can't wait to tell you the story. Here's what happened. 20 years, I decided to get out of my comfort zone. I knew I needed to make a pivot. I knew I wanted to try this. Went to this fabulous company. We tried it for 6 months, but there are several things we weren't on the same page with. It wasn't really working and we parted ways. I have huge respect for them. I think they're going to be insanely successful. But from that experience, I learned I still want to do this, but I need a slightly different environment. And that's what I'm looking for now. And that's why your company is literally on my top 10 dream company list in this space that I know is doing great things. Think about that. If I'm a recruiter and I just heard that story, I'm like, okay, this is somebody who had an experience, knew how to learn from it and grow from it. That's money to me. This is somebody who's going to want to knock it out of the park in this role. And that's what employers are looking for. I cannot say it enough, folks. I have so many people out there in job search mode right now, and they don't get that employers need to see how deeply you understand them. They need to trust you. This is an expensive investment. They really need to feel the passion and know that you're going to be there, that you're in it for the long haul. And the only way you prove that is through the in-depth research and support that you can provide to show them that you're not just saying that, you're not just paying them lip service. Okay. So that's my advice to you, my friend. One more time, I'm just going to say it. Good for you. Folks, more people need to get out and take those calculated risks. It doesn't matter how it ends up. It's how you learn from it and grow from it and use it. And that's the framework that I would advise you do. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for calling in. That's so great. All right, next question is from Kim out in the audience. Kim says, how to re-enter the workforce when you have not worked in 10 years? Okay. So I'm going to give Kim some bad news first, and then I'm going to give Kim some good news, okay? So the first is the bad news. Let's just get that out of the way. We're going to rip the Band-Aid off, Kim. Every year you're out of the workforce, folks, you lose 10% of your value. So whatever you were doing when you left the workforce, for every year, take 10% off. So Kim's been out for how long? Do I have any math majors here? 10 times 10. We're back to ground zero, Kim. And I know Kim's going, is she kidding me right now? Well, that's not the news I was looking for. Don't worry, Kim. There's a workaround. It's just a reality. I need to paint that picture for you because essentially you have a clean slate option here, Kim. Clean slate. Now, just because you're going to start over and your entry-level wage is going to be lower than you probably wanted, and it's definitely going to be lower than it was when you left, does not mean that it's going to take you 10 years to build it back up. Because in these 10 years, you've been doing stuff, Kim. I'm sure of it. There's something going on in your world that if you weren't working full time, there were other things that you were doing. And I'm sure they were very meaningful and very important. And they also developed a lot of skills, whether you realize it or not. And these are transferable skills. These are skills that you can use in the workplace. So the first thing you're going to do is get a resume together and get a LinkedIn profile together that's updated, that helps you dial in and decide what skills do I want to work in this next job. As you've heard here, I cannot stress it enough. Bucket lists are key. You're on the single best platform in the universe to create a bucket list, LinkedIn, right? You need to start finding companies. And Kim, you have to decide what you want to get into and why. So going back to that idea of a problem bigger than you, something that you're passionate about, what you lack in experience at this point and what you lack in being out of the workforce, you're going to have to make up for in enthusiasm and passion and what's called intrinsic motivation. That's the internal motivation to do the work. That comes from your values and your beliefs, Kim. So if you were working with us at Work It Daily, we'd have you create a list of companies that you really admire. And not because you heard they're a great employer, but because you admire the product or the service. You respect the customers they serve. You think they do it better, faster, cheaper. You personally and emotionally identify with their brand. You have an emotional connection to their brand. Those companies that you have that brand connection to, life experiences have taught you to have that connection. Your brain has had experiences and has codified them as important and powerful. That's your connection. So that's what you're going to want to share and network with as you reach out to people there and say, look, here's the deal. I've been out of the workforce for 10 years. Here are my skills. I know I'm essentially a newbie, but let me tell you why I think your company is absolutely incredible. Let me tell you why I feel so strongly connected to them. So my question is, how does somebody like me who's been out for 10 years and has an insane passion for what you do, what would it take to maybe someday earn an interview there, earn a job? I'm not asking for a job today. I get it. But what would it take? And then you can use your networking connections to do that. That's what you need to do. You're in data gathering mode. Now, the most amazing thing usually happens when somebody takes this advice. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. But the people that take my advice and do this, some amazing things happen. They go out and they start to have incredible conversations. People are fascinated by why you picked their brand, why you care about them. They want to learn a little bit more about you, what you've been doing for 10 years, and why are you deciding to get back into the workforce now, right? And all of a sudden, they're getting to know Kim and going, Kim's a pretty great person. Maybe we should refer Kim to a job. Kim gets referred to a job, and all of a sudden you're put in there and they go, oh, Kim's not as entry level as we thought. Kim's got skills. I think we can put Kim in a higher than an entry level job. Or at the very least, we'll start Kim off here, but we'll fast track Kim. And this is what I mean about it won't take you 10 years to get back there. I have watched person after person take a decade off. Obviously as a mom of two myself, right? I've seen a lot of moms take a decade off. And once the kids are back in school and on their own and into a good place, go back to work. And this is what they're faced with. It is the ones that take the approach I just described that end up finding the coolest opportunities. A lot of times jobs get created for them because they have a bunch of skills and experience and they're able to get in there and problem solve in a way that they couldn't have a decade ago. But you have to really commit to this idea of what do I care about? How do I tie my vision and values to that? And how can I start to showcase my skills that say, in spite of the fact I haven't worked for 10 years, this is the value I bring to the table. Again, you may not start out at the level you want to financially, but that will grow very quickly if you're in the right place that you're passionate about. And that's why this is also really important. So Kim, go out there, make it happen. People are doing it every single day. It starts here, right here. If you go in with, oh, I haven't worked in 10 years. Oh, I have no skills. Oh, I can't do this. You're not going to get anywhere. But if you go in with, oh, you know what? I have a passion. Oh, I know the companies that I'm interested in. I have value. I'm willing to work. I can't wait to close the gap. It's not going to take me 10 years. And the sooner I get started, the faster I go. Mindset is everything these days, folks. You just got to do it. People feel it. People can tell whether or not you're positive or not. And if you're positive, they want to help you. If you're not, they don't. So I know you're positive though, Kim, though you wouldn't have asked that question if you weren't. So, all right, way to go. Hey, we've got another caller. Okay, I'm not even kidding. This is so much fun. So we have another caller, Glenn. Hey, Glenn.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Welcome. What can I do for you?
So I'm having an interview for a job as a director of marketing and PR.
Nice.
But it's for a nonprofit for girls.
Okay.
And they talk about body issues, self-esteem, mental and body health. So it's a whole range of things. I've got all the qualifications for the job, but in researching it, I am there's no men that I see anywhere in the organization. So it's an awkward one, but I'm trying to figure out, I have the qualifications for it, but I'm wondering if there's some things that I should say that might make me stand out. Because I think as a father, I'd be really strong for this.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Do you mind me asking, are you a father of a daughter? You have a daughter?
Yes.
Okay.
And she's she's worked in the organization too as a girl.
The organization's target demographic, who are they trying to educate?
It's aimed for girls 3rd through 8th grade.
3rd through 8th grade.
So they're involved in the program.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, you're perfect for the job because you are a man and because you are a father. You're perfect for the job for those very reasons, right? Moms already know what these girls are facing. I have 2 daughters. I get it. I get it.
Right.
Fathers, they see it and are, I grew up a woman, so I understand, right? But for fathers that see it, my husband's just shocked and, horrified when he sees some of the things that go on and how they feel. Like he just says, I can't believe that they would think that way, right? Or feel that way.
Right.
So there is a whole demographic out there that needs that marketing, that PR. Those men will be huge advocates. Those fathers will be huge advocates and huge demographic for growth. Nobody understands that father and what message would hit that father between the eyeballs better than you.
Right.
That's the angle I would give. And I would be very proactive about that. So when it gets to be your part in your late stage in this,
yes,
a couple of things that I would think about. We have a tendency to go in and say, I want to tell you why I'm the best person for the job. That's not the case here. And I can already tell by your tone, and you're so good with PR. You have the emotional intelligence and the intellectual humility to understand it's all great candidates. They wouldn't be in the final stages if everybody wasn't a great candidate. It's like lining up a bunch of apples that are all green and saying, pick one, right? We have to start to look at the little nuances. And even then, when we pick one, it's not that the others couldn't have done the job. We just have to pull the trigger and pick one. So that going in. And I think it's really important that you bring that up when it's your turn. I think you want to say, when it's time for questions, I think you want to say to them, first of all, I know you have a lot of great candidates, and any one of the people that you pick is going to do an exceptional job. I also know that I'm the only male, and I think that makes me unique. I don't think it makes me special or better in any way, but I think it provides me with the opportunity to have a unique perspective here. And so I know that, but I want to hear from you. If you were to put a man in this job, can you all tell me what different perspective you think that individual could bring and what you'd want to see from them in order for them to do a great job? And see how instead of telling them why a man should do this job, even though we both know it, I want you to ask them to tell you why a man should do this job. They're essentially going to sell themselves on you because you gave them the privilege to answer that. Also, they may say some things you weren't expecting. And that'll be great insider information for you. But you need to ask them that question, let them talk about it, and say to them, I'm so passionate about this. I know I want it, and I know what I think I could bring as a man, but it was more important for me to hear it from you. Because honestly, I think I'm probably pointing out the obvious here. You're not mansplaining them. You're letting them talk, which is the whole point of this organization, right? Is to let them do the talking. So I hope that helped. Did that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting perspective on it. I hadn't thought about doing it that way. So
awesome.
Yes, that is very helpful.
All right. Good luck. Let me know. Direct message me. Let me know how it goes. Okay.
Okay, will do. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I've got a question here from Ronald. Ronald says, hey, JT, in the past 15 years, I've worked within the TIC industry, testing, inspection, certification. Now I'm 40 and in between jobs. Okay. I like that answer. In between jobs. And because the TIC industry is such a niche, I need to apply outside my expertise. Do you have any tips for me? Sure. Absolutely. So the first thing that you have to do, Ronald, you're in you're in the sweet spot of your career. 40 is the sweet spot, right? You're the youngest of the Gen Xers. And if I don't know if all of you know this, the pure demographics, but there's like over 70 million baby boomers. There's 77 million millennials, and smack dab in the middle, me, Ron, are 46 million Gen Xers. We're the total minority. Okay. So what is anticipated to happen, just so you know, because if you think about time marching on, the boomers have plateaued, and I'm sorry, boomers, but you're getting pushed over the other side of the curve because up comes all the millennials who are gaining their experience. But at some point in time, we're going to have this shortage of skill sets because there won't be enough Gen Xers who have that level of skill. So this is a great opportunity, I'm just saying, for you in terms of making a transition out of the TIC industry. Now would be the time to do it. Going to be a little bit more legwork, but I would strongly encourage you to do that. And I would take the time right now to be very intentional about the industries where you see the most growth opportunity, meaning they're not stabilizing, they're not dying, they are upticking as an industry. So you should be doing your homework on that. And I would identify 2 industries. I don't want you to identify 10. I want you to pick 2, because what you want to do then is pick the top 10 companies in each of those industries that would leverage your type of skill set. And you want to deep dive into the networking process with them with that story. You want to say, look, I have 15 years of experience. I feel like I'm coming into the most beneficial and important time in my career. I realized an opportunity that I wanted to be aligned in a field for the next 20 years that was in growth and really something that held my attention. I did my homework. These are the 2 industries that I'm researching. Now I'm talking to people and finding out where my transferable skills fit, where they see my type of skill set falling in. Not asking for a job. I'm doing my due diligence. And see, the thing is, when you go at people that way, they're so much more comfortable to talk to you and give you advice versus, can I find a job? Can you help me get a job? It's too soon, right? And I know you know that, or you wouldn't have asked this question. But by doing that homework and telling the story of how intentional you've been in making a career pivot, see, that's what people need to hear. Because if you just say, I'm looking for a job, then the thought is the moment you can go back to the TIC industry, you will, especially if it pays more. I need to hear that you've made a very conscious decision to pivot your career in a new direction and go down a new road, and you're not going to go backwards. And that's how you do that, by doing the homework and educating them and mapping out that game plan and then articulating it to people, spreading the word. When you want to change lanes on the highway, you're on the Autobahn going 100 miles an hour. You don't just change lanes, you'll crash. You signal. What I'm proposing to you right now is signaling. This is how you signal to 2 industries that you're very passionate about getting into them, that you are looking to make a serious career pivot, and you need the insight on how to do that. And when you go out there and you network with as many people as you can, like I said, it's a numbers game, you will get results. And that's what I would do right now. Because as I said, my friend, you're coming into the sweet spot. You're going to come into a really good time in your career. And now is the opportunity to do that. Okay. Awesome. All right. We've got a question from Michael. Michael says, I've been working it daily. Thank you, Michael, for a while now, and it seems to be getting harder. How do I recharge my mindset? Okay. This is pretty common. So when you decide to look for your job, right, invest in a job, a lot of times, so here's the story. Here's what usually happens. So people, they don't know how to look for a job. So they do what they think they've always supposed to do. No one ever taught us how to do this. They throw their resume together, throw their LinkedIn profile together. They apply to a few companies. Maybe they get an initial hit or 2, and then something goes wrong. They don't move forward in the process. All the phone calls stop. Then they start to get desperate. They apply to a bunch of different jobs. That doesn't work. Now they think something's seriously wrong. So now they think, okay, maybe I need my resume redone. They go overpay a resume writer to design their resume. That doesn't work. Now they're really thinking something's wrong with them. Okay. That's usually when they find us at Work It Daily. It's pretty funny. This is usually when they come to us, which is really late. I wish we could find a way to help them come to us sooner, but they find us, they come in, and we say, all right, let's walk you through a job search process. There is a step-by-step process in which you build your skills and abilities. So we start with assessing your skills and abilities, then figuring out what your resume should look like, then your LinkedIn profile, then your cover letter, then your interview prep. And it's a really good feeling. Like you said, you've been working it daily. You don't realize all the skills that you've been building and the habits. But at some point, you will hit this point where you're doing everything, it's there, and you're like, uh-oh, but I still don't have the job. What's going on? So that's when you have to reset your motivation. This is where you have to really, really start to work on your mindset and your strategy. So I'll have people say, okay, I don't know how, I've done it all. What can I do next? You haven't done it all. So my advice to you, Michael, right now is double down on your bucket list. You've got 10 companies, I hope at least. I want to see 20. You have 20 companies. Do you have the stories written out for all 20 about why you're passionate about working at those companies? Great. Now you've got 20 companies. I want to see 5 connections, not connection requests. I want to see 5 connections at every single one of those companies. I want you to go and send out connection requests until you get 5 people connected to you at every single one of those companies. I want customized outreach to each one of them. Everyone that connects with you, can you tell me that every single people, so let's do the math here, 20 companies, 5 connections apiece who have actually connected, that's 100 people in your network. Have you messaged every single one of those people directly and, sent them a piece of content of interest? Have you reached out and asked them just a single question to get the conversation going? Have you done that? Have you pursued those dialogues? Have you asked, and for the ones that did have a conversation with you, did you ask them if they could recommend you to somebody in the organization with a similar skill set to you that you think that you could learn from, right? So this is all a process that we teach you inside the Work It Daily platform. That would be in the networking class. So you definitely want to make sure you're following that. But see the numbers play here. This is Sales 101. I want to see 100 actual connections, 5 across 20 companies. And I want to see that you're trying to have conversations with those. That'll keep you plenty busy over the next 2 weeks at least. And the reason I say that is that's the busy work that makes you feel productive that I also know is building great habits for you. And while you're busy doing that, stuff's going to happen. Things will happen. When you don't have that work to do, when you don't have that strategy, that's when you start to get up inside your head. You start to get demotivated. You start to think about, things haven't panned out. Keep in mind, anytime you're sad, anytime you're feeling frustrated, it's because your expectations haven't been met. You know what, folks? You want to be happy your whole life? Don't have any expectations. Having expectations creates moments of happiness and joy and moments of sadness. So right now, your expectations haven't been met yet. Hear that word, yet. They will be met if you keep going. And that's what I need you to think about, Michael. You need to know, hey, anything worth having is going to take a little work. And I'm in the grind phase right now. I'm on the 26-mile marathon and I'm like at mile 13. I can't see the finish line yet. And I know I got to keep grinding, but I know if I keep working it daily, I will get those results. So tactically, do the plan that I shared with you, but mentally, you also need to wrap your head around the fact that this is it. This is where my Work It Daily players, this is how you break out of the pack, because lots of people give up right here in this moment. And I know you're not going to do it, Michael. You wouldn't have reached out if you were, but I need you to keep going. I need you to get those connections. I need you to work it daily and work through it, work past it. And remember, my expectations haven't been met yet. See, please add that word, because right now, you and everyone else out there that's depressed is going, my expectations haven't been met. I failed. No, I have not failed. I'm working it daily and my expectations haven't been met yet, but they will. They will because I'm working it daily. Okay? It will happen for you. I promise. Awesome. And I want you to message me when you do. Great. Lucero. Hey, Lucero. Lucero says, how do you make your profile interesting if you have just graduated and have no experience? So you know what, Lucero, it's not about making it interesting. And I don't think that's what you meant. I think you just meant, how do I get it noticed, right? How do I get it noticed? It's more about tactically having the right information in the right places in your profile. So I'm going to just say it, they probably have 700 million profiles on LinkedIn now, right? By now. But can I tell you how many of those aren't properly filled out? So from a search process, algorithmically, recruiters aren't getting half of them because people don't fill in stuff. If I was a recent grad, if I was about to graduate from school or I just graduated, first thing I'd do, I'd go find 10 jobs on LinkedIn that I'm really interested in that are all somewhat similar. So let's say as account manager, I would take all of those 10 jobs. I would copy all the text, the job description. I would pop them into something called a word cloud. You can go find word clouds for free. Cool thing about word clouds is they take all that content, all that text, and they pop out the biggest words, meaning the words that got repeated the most. So if it's a similar type of job and I take 10 job descriptions and I Wordle it, I'm going to see what the top 5 or 10 key skill sets are that all of these jobs are looking for. And that's really important to me because that's what recruiters search on when they're looking for candidates. So now what I'm going to do is put those key skill sets in my headline with vertical line dividers, right? So right after my name in LinkedIn, I'm going to put those as many as I can fit in there. It's usually about 5 or 6 key skill sets. Then in the about section, because I don't have experience, I'm going to say I'm a recent graduate who's passionate about working in this type of job, okay? Because that's the one you're looking for. So then you have the job title in there. Say, my skill sets include, and then you're going to vertical list all of the key skill sets, as long as you have them, you can't lie, you can't make it up, but all the key skill sets that, again, maybe you don't have actual work experience, but you do have life experience, you do have school, you're going to list those. And then you're going to list whatever work history you have, you're going to list your education, you're going to list everything else. The reason you want to do that is because that's how you're going to show up in their search results when they're looking for entry-level candidates, and they're going to know that you are interested in leveraging those skill sets. That's how you're going to get the call. They know that you don't have lots of experience, but if they can see that you've branded yourself so specifically for this type of work, it's going to be more interesting. And the other thing that I'm going to tell you is that you're going to need to be proactive. Recent grads need to absolutely build bucket lists of companies. If you see a company you dream to work for, you need to tell the story of why. Not because you heard they're awesome to work for, but what about their product, their service, their mission really lights you up? Because what you lack in experience, you need to make up for in enthusiasm. And that's the story you need to tell in a cover letter. And then you need to do everything in your power to find someone to connect with you on LinkedIn so you can say to them, I am a recent grad. I am crazy over your company. Here's the story about why I care so deeply about what you do and why I want to find a way to work there someday. That's going to get you an interview. Okay. I'm telling you, because no one's doing it. Nobody's doing it. You want to stand out amongst 3.1 million college grads this year? That's what you need to do. Awesome. Great question, by the way. Okay. Kevin says, hey, I've been working in the industry as a data scientist for 2 years, currently pursuing my higher studies. But when I try to apply for interviews, I always face a rejection. Is it my resume or the work I've done? So honestly, I'm assuming you're applying online. You're not getting the interviews, Kevin. You're applying online. It has nothing to do with you. It's the applicant tracking system, or as I like to call it, the applicant tossing system. In fact, there was an article somebody sent to me, somebody on LinkedIn, shout out, I think it was in the New York Times this week, just about how bad the ATS is. People don't understand. Applicant systems are designed to screen you out. Specifically, less than 3% studies show, less than 3% of people that apply online ever hear back. So Kevin, the truth is human beings probably aren't even seeing your application. You aren't really being rejected. It's not a rejection, it's an elimination. And I think we should just get rid of that word as I'm talking about it out loud. Please don't call it rejection. You are not rejected. If rejection is something we take personally, and there has to be a personal reason, there's nothing personal about ATS. It's a computer. And so you can't game the system. Please, anybody out there that's been told that I can game the system so that you get through the ATS, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. Even if you get through, if you're lying, you're not going to move forward. It doesn't work. So understand that ATS is eliminating you, and that's why you're not getting it. It's the worst way to look for work. The worst. There's a reason why networking gets people 80% of the jobs, because networking lets you compete on your reputation and your brand instead of you as a commodity. And this is like a big thing you're going to hear from me this year. If I'm going to help 1 million people, if Working Daily is going to help 1 million people, I need to get this point across. You are all commodities until proven otherwise. Do y'all know what commodities are? Commodities are fungible. That's what they call it at IBM, fungible. It means you are completely interchangeable with somebody else. And when you're a commodity, you compete on price and price only. So anybody that can do it better, faster, cheaper gets the job. We live in a commodities-based employment world. Okay. So when you apply online, you're a commodity. Everyone else's resume is there, and they're just looking at whatever is the best match. Commodities, right? Competing on price, competing on any of that. So it doesn't work for you. If you want to compete on your value and the value you bring, and if you want to get more money and get the best opportunities, applying online isn't going to work for you. You need to network. Because when you network and you connect with somebody, they get to know your brand, your personal brand, which is your reputation. It's your value. They get to know your personality. They get to know how you approach tasks. It's called your aptitude, right? And they get to know your experience. They get to evaluate you on far more criteria than the ATS does. So now all of a sudden, when I'm an employer, and by the way, average of 100 people apply to a job these days, sometimes as many as 1,000. I've heard averages for some companies about 250 applicants. Nobody looks at 250 resumes. They just screen them out. And even then, they probably screen them down to about 10. So now if you're lucky and they don't read the resumes fully front to back, they skim them. So your resume has to be skimmable. And if you're lucky, you get through and you get a call. Well, who wants to compete against that? Instead, what if you identify a company that hires for your skill set, figure out why you're passionate about working there, reach out and start to connect with people that work there, and get some insight on what it's going to take to stand out in the process, and then create an amazing introduction letter, find the hiring manager's name, and send them the message that says, I see that you have this job posted. I did apply online, but I wanted to make sure that I could share with you the story about why I'm so passionate about your company. Get the cover letter in their hands. Get them to look at your LinkedIn profile. That's what gets them to walk down the hallway. And even though you've been rejected by the ATS system, you get an interview. And how do I know this is true? Because it happens every day in Work It Daily. Every day people say, JT, I applied online and got the auto-generated rejection. And then 3 days later, I got the phone call because I did the backdoor networking. Because this is how it really works. And nobody's teaching us that, folks. You know, ATS, applicant tracking systems, only built in the last decade, right? No one taught us how to navigate that. So we're all sitting there applying, thinking we're doing something wrong and thinking we're getting quote unquote rejected. You can't even justify it with that term because rejection's personal. And there's nothing personal about a bot skimming your resume and deciding you don't fit a current thing because there's 600 applicants there and there were 30 more that fit more keywords than you. It's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Okay. Awesome. All right, team. Well, I can't believe, I don't know where an hour went. Yikes. This is crazy. Did you have fun today? I hope so. Listen, if you like the call-in, which I certainly did, hopefully we're going to do more of it. Be sure to follow my feed, especially on LinkedIn, because we announce what the subjects are going to be, what we're going to be talking about on the live shows during the week, especially when our career Q&As are going to be. I hope you'll come back and dial in because I loved talking with all of you. Just remember this, if you want to win in the career game, you have got to work it daily. And it's not hours a day. It's just a few minutes every day. You showing up here today, that's a step in the right direction, but keep it up. You can do this. You can have what you want in your career, but just like anything, you've got to invest a little time, a little energy. So find the right resources and make it happen for yourself. And of course, if you loved what you heard today and you would like to work with coaches like me and have 24/7 access, we are the career coaching app, the one and the only out there on the internet. You can have us in your back pocket in your phone. You can have us on your desktop. We, our career coaches, could be working with you. You could be getting all your questions answered like this in the privacy of your own private account. All you have to do is join us at Work It Daily. It is less than the cost of a gym membership. All right. If we're going to work out here, why don't we want to work out here? That's what Work It Daily is all about. So come check us out. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.